your posture is important, because when you're standing upright, the idea is that you want to have your bones supporting your body. Good alignment. Postural alignment means you're lining up your bones. So your head is centered over your torso, and your torso centered over your pelvis, and your pelvis lands right over your feet. So you want to keep this alignment happening. And usually it runs between a straight line between your ear, your shoulder, your hip bone, like greater trochanter, that hip bone, and your ankle. So a straight line. So there's your support system. So every time you land, you want to have your foot underneath that support system. If it bends, if you bend or have an way arch back lordosis or bending at the waist or anything, completely throws off where your center of mass is, right? So if you bend at the waist, all of a sudden your center of mass is generally, same place as your dantian, your center in Tai Chi, okay? If your center of mass is right over your feet, you have to use your legs to push you forward. So people that bend at the waist, their center of mass is still over their feet, so they have to push this center of mass forward. On the other hand, if you have this straight posture and a center of mass in the middle, and you let your center of mass fall slightly in front of where your feet are contacting the ground, you become a falling object, like a tree. Just been cut down, right? So as long as your center of mass is ahead of your feet, gravity will tend to pull you over. And then all you do is cooperate with that pull of gravity by picking up your feet to keep up with the pull, right? And so posture is important, because as soon as you bend at the waist, it throws off that whole system of physics. And then you have to resort to muscles to let it happen.
Yeah.
So it's important that just in Tai Chi, in Tai Chi or any martial art, really, you get the most power if you move from your center. If you're throwing a punch, you move your center first, and then your arm becomes the output of your center moving. Always move from your center, So if you're moving from that place, then all of the power comes from where the largest group of muscles is, your core, right? And that means that everything more distal, everything on down the line, down to your fingers, down to your toes, if you look at how the body is built, everything further away from your core is smaller and smaller and smaller. By the time you get down to your toes, that's a little tiny muscle. In Tai Chi, they rely on every part of the body to cooperate together, but only playing its relative part. So your toes are small, so they have very little to do with the whole motion of your body. They have some, but very little. Okay, but if you over rely on all those distal muscles and parts, that's an overuse injury, right? Because it's overused. If people who run with their toes, like sprinters, you're using the smallest part of your leg to propel this whole body forward. That's why people get injured. That's why all the injuries in running come from below the knee. Knee problems, calf pulls, Achilles tendon, all of that stuff comes from below the knee, most running injuries. So my whole thing when I started this whole Chi running thing was, energy efficiency and injury prevention. So it's all about, you want to prevent injury, whether you're walking or running or doing anything, don't rely on the small parts.